Go eat some poutine for us.
Will do.
Sorry, eh?
You're listening to the Real Christian Manliness Podcast with Isaac and Tim Ingram. It's time to get manly.
Welcome, gentlemen, today to the Real Christian Manliness Podcast. Today we've got a good treat for you with the interview from a really new acquaintance that we've made over the last few weeks. Josiah Jost, but as always, did I say that right, Jost?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Well, because, for the longest time, whenever I would watch your YouTube channel years and years back, I would always think in my mind, Jostie.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got Tim on the line in Texas and Josiah's on the other line. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing really well, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. It's an honor.
Well, thanks for being on the show. So
save the honor until we're done. It might not be an honor after the end.
Well, have you listened to any of the podcasts to prepare yourself, or are you just coming in blind?
I've been meaning to. I've been really wanting to because it sounds awesome, but I haven't had the chance yet. But being the narcissist that I am, I'll probably check it out later on.
Oh, there you go. That's the whole point of interviews. We try to get people just to listen to themselves, and boost our numbers. One interview at a time.
No.
So
no. It sounds great though.
So like I mentioned before, my first, probably even before I met my wife Anna, I'd stumble across the Jostie flicks and those sketches and things that you did, and I always was amused by them. And so it was really interesting to find out that that I married someone that kind of knew you guys by proxy, through other family members, and also the King family and stuff like that. I was acquainted with their stuff before I met Anna, and it's kind of cool because I married into some interesting loose connections. So why don't you go ahead and we'll detour just a little bit. Give the people a little bit of your testimony, a little bit about your unique family life and your ministry these days.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. How far do you want me to go back with that?
Just go with what you feel.
All right. Yeah. Well, I grew up in a family of 11 kids. I'm the third born of 11. So shout out to all the other third borns out there. I think it's a special breed. There you go. Awesome, Isaac. And so grew up actually homeschooled. And, really close relationship with my siblings and parents, and had a lot of fun together. And about 10 years ago, the Lord really put it on my dad's heart to start a music ministry. So we, Mom and Dad have been singing since college. So, we always grew up singing together. But about 10 years ago, Dad wanted to get a lot more serious about it. And so we really prayed about it as a family, and the Lord opened up doors to do a tour all the way across Canada in 2007, and we recorded our first album the year before that, and Lord just really opened up opportunities to do that, and ever since then we've had the opportunity to be in all lower 48 states, just singing and doing concerts as a family, and there's just numerous stories of things that the Lord's done over that time. So that's really on our heart. So that's one of the things that I'm a part of with my family. And then in 2000, I think it was 2007, 2008, sometime around there, my siblings and I started a YouTube channel called Jostie Flicks. And originally we just wanted to start a YouTube channel to put out clean, family-friendly humor that would also be an outlet to for us to refine our filmmaking skills, and also kind of make some connections. And that kind of grew and grew kind of more than we expected it would. And I'm not sure what it is now, but I think it's around 10,000 YouTube subscribers.
Wow.
And that kind of created a synergy between the music and the YouTube channel. And so and as a day job, I am a logo and branding designer, and I've been doing that for full-time for 10 years, and I love that because it's completely independent of location. and my wife is a designer as well. So we get to work as a team. Had the chance to do some pretty big branding projects, and God blessed us with our first little boy about 9.5 months ago, and it's awesome.
What's his name?
Asa, just ASA, like the
Right.
Old Testament king.
I was gonna ask about your son Asa, but I was like, is that his name? Because am I thinking of somebody else? So, well, that's cool. So I see a theme of creativity throughout your family. Are all the kids and parents all super creative, or are there any differences? Are there any analytical types?
There's 11 kids, so there's a lot of diversity, but there's definitely a strong desire for creativity. So there's definitely a fusion. There's definitely a lot of teamwork just for Jostie flicks, right? Because my brother Joel was the one that was very, technical with the filmmaking and the camera and the editing. And then my sister Emily is, very creative and witty and funny. So she would come up with a lot of the funny lines. And then, so there's a lot of diversity. My oldest brother, Jesse, look up to him a lot. He's really has a heart for, Christian apologetics, and he's very, he'll read a book and 10 years later he can quote a line from it. So a lot of diversity in the kids for sure.
Well, see, I can quote stuff, but it's just from, worthless movies. So
yeah, the stuff that's stuck from a kid.
Yeah, and there's a few similarities. Definitely not the family size in our families, but our whole family's musical, and Tim and I, we haven't have the skill level of you guys, but we've helped our church with some video projects and things like that, and then with the Real Christian Manliness podcast, that's been a lot of fun. So it's cool. I like creative people as long as they're not prima donnas.
Right. Yeah. How many kids are in your family, Tim?
We have 4, so we're a lot smaller than you.
Oh, that's cool.
Almost a third, if my math serves me. Little less than a third the size.
Yeah.
So
you're a genius.
That's cool.
So, tell me a little bit how you got into your logo design, branding, type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I graduated from homeschooling, high school, when I was 17 years old, and I started a part-time job at a computer shop at a nearby town, and so it was part-time, and so the other days of the week when I wasn't working, I just started entering design contests for kicks. I'm not sure if you've heard the website 99 Designs.
Yep.
And a couple other ones. And, just in my spare time, I started doing some logos, and the Lord really blessed it. And, I think that first year of just doing it part-time, I won quite a few design contests and realized it was something that I really liked. And then by the spring of 2008, I had enough real clients, because I set up a website then and started doing real clients instead of just the spec design contest. But in 2008, I had enough clients that I started doing it full time and stopped all my other work. And by God's grace, since 2008, I've always had a client booked ahead of the one that I'm working with. And it kind of, the business really built, snowballed by just really putting the work that I'd done out there on sites like Logopond, Dribble, and other design sites, and just got a lot of traction with my website. And I've been doing it for 10 years now. Had the opportunity to work with some great clients, great people. Worked with people from about 50 different countries now. So it's fun. I love my job because you get to dip your head into so many different brands, right, and their situation, and also even different cultures to see, different symbols can have different connotations in different cultures, and so I love it.
That's cool. So what are some of the more notable companies that you've done work for?
Yeah, I've had the privilege to work with the History Channel for a couple of projects. Was part of their team for branding America, the History of Us. Worked with, I'm not sure if you've heard of Survivor Man, show Les Stroud, worked with him. my wife and I just recently, not that long ago, did the logo for the Irwin brothers. They did they put out some awesome Christian films the last couple of years. Did a logo for the U.S. Army for their Army Reserve Families program. Yeah, and yeah, that's just short lists, but
that's pretty cool. And are you completely self-taught about that, or?
Yeah, actually, I went the self-taught route, and there's so many resources online now and books that, for me, I felt it was really the best way to go, especially in a creative field, right? Because I've worked with hundreds of clients over the past 10 years, and my brother's into filmmaking too, and both of us went the self-taught route. And through that whole process, I haven't had one client ask for my credentials, right? Because in the creative field, really all they care about is, the work you've done.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and the same with Tim. The little that we've delved into as far as, even the podcast and videography and stuff like that has been total, like YouTube and, check out how do you do this, how do you do that, and it's a lot of fun. And it's interesting because there's film school out there, and I'm considering one day getting a film degree after I'm finished with my current degree. Don't know if I will or not, but there's just an abundance of stuff in the new media field and technology that you can just go through the rabbit hole on YouTube and just learn almost anything that you need to know. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think, like, when I talk with young kids today, one of the things I would say is, work ethic is one of the biggest things, because whether you're self-taught or you go to school, at the end of the day, you need to have the work ethic to keep teaching yourself and to push through with what you have learned, right?
Yep, that's true. So I don't think we mentioned it since we've been recording. We talked about it a little bit before, but you're our first Canadian interview. So
first international.
Yay, Canada.
Yeah. You like some Timmy Hortons, eh?
Yeah, or poutine. You ever heard of that?
I have not.
I've heard of it, but I've never tried it.
Yeah, poutine is basically this delicious, magical dish that is just it's just I think the French came up with it, which
sounds about right.
It sounds about right. But it's French fries layered with cheese curds, and then you pour hot gravy over it all, and it's just wonderful. It's delicious. It's a heart attack, but it's
is that like a brown gravy or like a white
brown
gravy?
It's a brown gravy. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Are they all the same, or are there different? Are there different variations of it?
Well, yeah, there are different places that try to get crazy with it, But the classic poutine is just French fries, brown gravy over top of cheese curds, and the gravy is hot, so it kind of melts the cheese curds. You guys got to come up here, and we'll make it for you.
Yeah.
One day.
I mean, whenever we talked over at the concert we were at, it was either you or your wife mentioned that you're fairly close to, what's that national park up there?
Waterton National Park, or Banff.
Maybe? Banff is the one.
Yeah, we're about 3 hours from Banff.
So yeah, we'll whenever we go see Banff, we'll definitely try out the poutine.
Yeah, absolutely. Stop in overnight and get some Alberta, Canada hospitality, and then see those epic Banff Mountains.
Yeah. So, go ahead and tell us a little bit about the YouTube channel. You mentioned it briefly, but how did you get going? Who was the driving force in that, and how did that all play out?
Yeah, so my brother Joel is a very talented filmmaker. He's the sibling just under me, and Joel was the driving force in terms of, he was the one that was doing the filming, he was doing the editing, he was managing the YouTube channel, and basically we wanted to create, just 3 to 5 minute skits or just videos that would just provide some clean humor. And so we started doing that, and they started getting around on the on social media more than we expected. And so we started putting a little more effort into it, and Joel actually was able to build up a strong portfolio from the flicks that eventually the Lord provided a job for him in Bismarck, North Dakota, with a ad agency. And so he's sort of the head of the video department there, and he's doing really well. But what they saw from his work was basically Jostie flicks, and so the Lord used that to open up a tremendous door for Joel. So we're still hoping to keep Jostie flicks going as we can. My sister Emily and I only live about 5 minutes apart, so we're still going to try to keep that going. But it's just been a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's great memories too, just working together. And hopefully we haven't offended too many people with our flicks. We have in the past. We've had some gnarly letters from people, but we just got to do what we have a clear conscience about and we think is funny. So.
Yeah, you got to. Those siblings moving away always puts a damper in the creative process.
It's true.
Yes, it does.
It's true.
It does.
Isaac and I were going to make a CD, a music CD together, and then he decided to move to Montana, and that kind of went out the window. So what are some of your more successful YouTube videos? I mean, I've seen a few. My favorite one is The Same Here, with you and your sister sitting on the bench. What are some of your more successful ones, or maybe the funnier ones people should check out?
Yeah. Same Here, I think, is one of our most viewed ones, which is just a sketch of me and my sister on a park bench. But some other ones that we get a lot of feedback from people saying they really have enjoyed are, man, it's been a while since I've pulled these up, so I'm trying to remember the titles. But I need to go to our YouTube channel.
There's a line that I say to myself all the time whenever I use my Keurig or something, and it's from the one about who took the milk or whatever, who drank the last of the milk.
Oh, right.
And you say, it's like, that's good coffee, 100 times in that sketch. So
yes,
that's just kind of one of those things that I'll sit there and it's like, that's good coffee.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. We get a lot of people telling us that. Another one that's gotten pretty popular is a Hallmark film in 3 minutes that we did more fairly.
Funny. That one's
a little more recently.
Have you seen that one, Tim?
No, but I hate Hallmark films, so if it makes fun of them, then I'm going to have to check it out.
Hallmark, they make fun of CrossFit, they make fun of a lot of good things that I'm for.
Yeah, another one that got a fair bit of views was The Piano Girl. It was kind of not a mock, but kind of just a play on, the Piano Guys films. My sister playing the cello in the field, and you're expecting this epic, beautiful, and it ends up being horrible. But the Piano Guys actually ended up reposting that video to their Facebook. So that they were able to get the humor from it, thankfully.
Yeah, those guys are talented, man. Just both in their music and their cinematography.
Oh man, yeah, they are top notch.
Yep. So, tell us a little bit about. So we mentioned you're from Canada. Has your family always been in Canada?
Yeah, born and raised Canadian. Dad's born and raised Canadian. Mom was actually born in Oklahoma, but she moved to Canada when she was 1 or 2. But Thankfully, we were still able to get our dual citizenship, which has been nice for all our going back and forth into cool. U.S. and Canada.
Cool.
A lot of your stuff is clean. Is that because that's obviously because of a Christian base? What's your Christian background like, and the religious influence your parents had on you?
Right, absolutely. I grew up till I was about 11 years old. I was a pastor's kid. Dad was the pastor of Evangelical Free Church in a local town, and grew up in that, and always had, I guess, a strong awareness of the spiritual realm. And I remember when I was little, I feared hell a lot. But I remember when I was about 15 or 16, think I was reading through, might have been Romans, and I was in my room, and suddenly I just teared up, because I think for the first time in my life, the gospel and the grace in the gospel finally really hit me hard. That, it wasn't, and this is something obviously that my parents had taught me since I was little, but there's this point in your life where it just becomes so real to you, like the grace hits. And so when I was about 16, reading through the New Testament, and grace just hit me. And that was another kind of defining point in my life where I was like, wow, I didn't earn my salvation. This is completely covered by the gospel and the completed work of Jesus. And so ever since then, it's been my walk with God has been, it's just something it's a journey, right? And it's awesome. And the Lord's given my wife and I some special passages in Scripture that we often look to. Psalm 84 is one of our favorite. The God is our sun and shield, and it's something that I think I thought I was always was going to get married when I was pretty young, but the Lord didn't have me marry Audrey till I was 27, which was older than I would have anticipated, but God's blessed me so much through my wife. She's been such rich spiritual encouragement to me. She has such a grace and humility to her. So we got married about 2.5 years ago now, and that's just been such a grace from God too, right? Just to be able to have a wife that is so for you, and is so realizes that the most important thing that as spouses we can do for each other is point each other to Christ.
Mm-hmm. So being fairly recently married, my wife and I, we're going on 4 years, I think.
Awesome.
But share kind of what's one of the biggest things you've learned since you've been married, whether it's about yourself or just about marriage in general.
That's a great question. Right before I got married, we were on a tour. We were engaged. We were on a tour across the states, and I asked probably about 100 people, what's the one piece of advice that you would give someone that's about getting married? And so I started this Evernote that I still have that's, about 30 different one-liners that people gave me. But the one that someone shared with me, and the one that I'd have to say has been one of the most important things to remember in marriage, is to always drink deep from the source of Jesus Christ first and be satisfied in Him, right? Because we can only love when we seek to have our cup filled by Christ first. So that means, like, in a practical sense, having your quiet time in the morning, and reading God's word, and seeking to be filled, your cup filled in that way. And then, in that, everything else is just overflow, because I have an awesome wife, and she loves me so Christ-likely. But that's probably the advice I would say is, as men, we have to be looking to Christ first before anything else.
Yeah, one thing that I learned that you kind of reminded me of a little bit was you can't be, as a single person, you can't be too, I don't know, desperate might not be the right word, but thinking that this other person is going to, as they say, complete me. There's two individuals that are becoming one, and one cannot make the other one happy. They can just share each other's lives. And so you have to be confident and complete and within yourself and within Christ in order to really be able to have a happy relationship and a happy marriage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Amen.
Because I know some single people that they just smell of desperation. This is the thing. Yeah. This is the thing that's gonna complete my life.
That's not me, is it, Isaac?
No. You're fairly apathetic as far as that, at least outwardly. So, but yeah, you if you're listening there and you're a single guy, I don't think God brought Anna into my life until I thoroughly was just almost not even looking. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was focused on my church, and I was focused on my ministry and things of that
Awesome.
nature, and then God kind of randomly, if we're not really randomly, but in His own time, brought her into my life, and so that's what your testimony made me think of. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amen. Awesome. That's exactly how I felt, Isaac. And that's, it's one of the most unattractive things too when someone, as you put it, reeks from desperation.
yeah, yeah. So and even on a practical level, if you're a guy out there, and hopefully there's just guys listening to a Manliness podcast, but um, girls aren't attracted to the desperation. You
Nope.
know, at least the right ones. You know, there might be some that are kind of uh, predatory in that way, but if you want a good girl, you want one that can be attracted to your confidence and to, you know, your walk with God and those type things. So
Mm-hmm. Amen.
so we'll go ahead and start winding it down a little bit, and we'll ask you a couple questions. Josiah, outside of family or pastor in your life, who's your hero?
That's a good question. You know, the Lord used different autobiographies in my life at different points to really and inspire me. And it's tough to narrow it down, but I think I'll bring it down to George Mueller. George Mueller and his faith and just total trust in God in his prayer life and in seeing God work. That's always been an inspiration to me.
If you had your very own billboard on the side of the road, what would you put on there?
That is a tough question. To be honest, this might be a little cliche, but to be honest, something that my wife and I have always been passionate about is the sanctity of human life. And I actually started a website a few years ago called defendsouls.com just to provide some tasteful artwork in defending the unborn. And
Awesome.
so if anyone needs free artwork, they're welcome to check that out. But I know there's different angles and voices that we need to have, but the angle that I've taken has been to be as wise as serpents and gentle as doves. So the artwork is more an appeal to see the value of the life and to try to touch the mother's heart. So all that to say, I'd probably have some tasteful artwork that, just inspired people to love all life, including the unborn.
Hey, amen. I didn't see that one coming, but that's pretty awesome, and I totally agree with that, the importance of that. And so one last question, and this is on our last interview. This one kind of stumped our interviewee, but what is a mistake that you've made that through making that mistake you learned something and it paved the way for some success later in life?
Oh, I made a lot of mistakes. And to be honest, the first thing that comes to mind, I can't think of a specific success that came from a mistake other than just the Lord using it to humble me at the right points in my life to realize that I need God so much. And I guess you could say that's a success when you realize that you need God. And so I guess just that my mistakes have pointed me to my need for God.
Awesome. So thanks for coming on the show. We've enjoyed the conversation. Where can people that are listening, find your work and find the different things that you're involved in?
Sure, absolutely. So my logo design company is siadesign.com. My name is Josiah, and so I've just based it off my nickname growing up, which is Sia. So SIAH design.com, so you can see some of my work there, or instagram.com/siadesign. And then you can also see my family's music on just josties.com. So josties.com. You can see some of our music videos there too. And then for our YouTube channel, Jostie Flicks, it's JOSTIE jostieflix.com, or you can just YouTube or Google Jostie Flicks and you can see our YouTube channel.
Awesome. So it's been a great conversation. Thanks again for being on the show, and thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time for the Real Christian Manliness Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Real Christian Manliness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our show. Now, if you could do us a favor, go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. That way other people can find us easily in the rankings. And if for some reason you don't think we deserve 5 stars, give us whatever you think we deserve, but please explain why we got that rating in a review. Now make sure you subscribe and have a great day.